We're just musicians, we're songwriters, and we just keep on doing what we like doing. We don't stand outside and see our career as being in periods and phases. We just are what we are when we are, and we just do it. We just write and be ourselves.
We're not aiming at demographics or markets, we're just evolving. Yeah. We have many favourites. We have favourites like I Started a Joke, like Massachusetts. And during our R&B, what we call our R&B, there are periods for us. I mean, there was a classical period for us was the 60s, late 60s into the 70s, and then there was our R&B period, which everybody eventually called disco, but it wasn't disco to us. It was R&B music. It was our love of Tamla Motown, and soul music like Stax music, and
then there was our David Frost period.
Then there was our David Frost period, followed by our Blue period.
Folk rock, classical in a sense, and R&B, soul, which we've actually managed, and probably one of the first groups to ever bring those together. The Beatles did it in a great sense with Sgt. Pepper. They mixed a lot of the classical chord progression.
Well, Eleanor Rigby.
We in a sense carried that on. We'd have a lot of folk integrated into
folk
our music.
Is probably,
I mean, I know in a big way, like the Moody Blues did it with their album with the, I think it was the Victoria Symphony Orchestra or something like that.
I don't know about
but they did a big album with an orchestra. But we've always been starved of that in Australia because we used to write beautiful ballads and not be able to afford an orchestra. You couldn't afford string players to come and play on your records. But we were influenced by that, the string quartet sounds for like Eleanor Rigby that the Beatles did. We carried it on the stage further. We were heavily influenced by Roy Orbison's type ballads. And then we got into more R&B after that, but the sadness and the strings made such warmth, and then there were synthesizers where you could impersonate that.
So when we arrived in England, we were so starved for orchestra, the first thing we did was to hire an orchestra.
In fact, we were starving.
We've always drawn our inspiration from just people, and life experiences, situations, life experiences, but generally people, because that's where all the stories are.
And we will always take a piece of what we've done forward and evolve with it. So there'll be our trademark and our stamp there, but it'll still be a gain.
But it's not a big deal, it's got to be fun.
It's got to be fun.
So when we go in the studio, if we're not having fun, then there's no point in being there. So there are many ways you make a record. You can either do it with a full live band and sing live, or you can do it with high-tech computers and drum machines and all that stuff. These ways were not available to you 20 years ago. You couldn't do it that way. You had to invent. You had to imagine first and then invent. And nowadays, it's all available to you. You just choose the passage.
It depends on the song.
That the song dictates to you.
Yeah.
See, there are times, if I may elaborate on the part.
Sure, go ahead.
May I? Yeah. When you're recording today, the only thing different with us when we record today is the technology. There's digital. Things like that.
We have the choice. We're also a live band, which we draw upon first and foremost.
Yeah, but for instance, when we write, we don't use drum machines or anything like that because that dictates the song to you immediately, the groove, everything. You have to imagine what it's going to be. So we still write the same way. But when we go into the studio, we have choices of different sounds now, of course, and they're much more accessible. Before, you would have a drummer go in and you'd leave him in there for a week just to get sounds before you even started recording. Now you don't have to do all those things. So you do have much more wide choices, and of course the sound is much better.
There's a light, certain kind of light that never shone on me. I want my life to be with you, live with, 'cause the way everybody says to do each and every little thing, but what good does it bring if I ain't got you, ain't got, baby, you don't know what it's like, baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody, the way I love you.
in my brain. See your face again, and know my frame of mind. You ain't got to be so blind, and I'm blind, so bad. I'm a man. Did you see what I am? I'm giving up a reason for you. But what good does it do if I ain't got you? Ain't got you. Hey, hey, you don't know what it's like. Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody, to love somebody the way I love you. You don't know what it's like, baby. You don't know what it's like to love somebody, to love somebody the way I love you.
Wow.
It's garden singing. Songwriters first, and when
Oh, my hair.
we're actually songwriters first.
Mine
because
hair.
When you as you say, chameleons of type of music, we
Comedians.
Oh, he's a comedian.
chameleons.
Ah.
We write the songs first, so without the songs you can't make the record. So we can put on many hats, if you like, for the
It's
artists we
silly,
write
but
for.
you can wear many hats.
I've got this one on today. But we can change the way we write for each individual artist we would write for. For ourselves, we have our own type of way of writing for ourselves. We have a way for writing for other artists, depending on the artist. So we can wear many hats, if you like, and
Can I make
become.
an added comment to what you're saying?
Of course you can.
I think that what Maurice is saying is very true, but the reason behind the fact that we're able to do that, I think, comes from the fact that when we were very young children, we emigrated halfway around the world to live in another country, and we traveled all over the world as young children, and I think that somehow gave us an insight or an ability to write different kinds of music for different kinds
Has
of
nothing to do
people.
with writing, we just want to throw it in anyway.
Also be said that we've written the wrong song at the wrong time as well. So,
But I mean, we just enjoy what we're doing,
Yeah.
and we've always got our ear to the ground. We love commercial music. We love writing pop records.
we like to write music that might be accepted by the masses, say, as opposed to a narrow marketplace or a narrow type of listener.